Hello, Bobby Torres of Frightbox Recording here to dispel 3 all too common myths about producing or engineering bands for a living. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, almost 15 years now, and I remember hearing these myths being perpetuated back when I was in college. I feel like it's my duty to explain to you why it's not true and to help clear up any confusion that you may have if you're interested in doing this as a profession. Myth number 1. You need a really nice studio and a bunch of fancy gear to be successful at producing and engineering bands. This couldn't be further from the truth. The truth is that your skill set, personality, and what you bring to the table for a band is what's going to sell you when it comes to landing clients as an engineer or producer. A perfect example of this is Joey Sturgis. If you've never heard of him, he's produced a ton of very well-known metalcore and metal bands within the industry. The guy was recording gold records in a garage in the mid-2000s with less gear than most bedroom producers have these days. He was just using a computer, a basic interface, and that's it. And he was producing label albums in that garage way back then in the mid-2000s. The reason why bands hired him had nothing to do with the space that he was recording in or the gear that he was using. It all came down to what he brought to the table as a producer. So if you're just starting out and you're thinking about doing this as a profession, really focus on your skills. You could drop $10, $20, $30, $50, $100,000 on a bunch of fancy toys, and it's not gonna bring you clients if your skills aren't there. Now, time and time again, I'll have aspiring engineers stop by my studio, and the first thing they'll ask me is what they should buy. But most of the time, they have more gear than I have. And I do this professionally for a living. So remember, if you want to do this, focus on your skill set. That's what's going to land you clients. And this brings me to myth number 2, that you have to work with every artist under the sun within every genre under the sun. Again, this couldn't be further from the truth. The truth is that when you try to appeal to everyone, you end up appealing to no one. Now, if you notice, most successful engineers and producers work within a specific genre or niche. Now, there are exceptions out there like Rick Rubin, but for the most part, engineers and producers specialize. This is how they become very good within their niche. And the reason why is simple. When you work within a specific genre over and over and over again, you get really good at that skill set. And the better you become, the more in demand you become. I don't care if you're working with Lamb of God or you're working with the band that's playing in the club down the street. When you become really good at something and you can produce results and you're easy to work with, you will be in demand. Now, like many others, I made the mistake of working with everyone when I started out. I would work with pop artists, hip hop artists, indie rock, when in reality, all I really cared about was heavy music and rock. And the truth is, I was miserable. Now, I'm a fan of a bunch of different music. I listen to jazz, pop, all different stuff. When it comes to production, my heart is really in metal and hard rock. It wasn't until I started saying no to projects and stopped working within genres that I had no interest in did my studio really start to take off. And it's simple, when I worked on projects that I was passionate about, by default, the product would be better because I was putting my heart into it. Now, it makes sense. If you're working on projects that you're really passionate about and you're working with people that you really enjoy working with, you're gonna put out better product and you're gonna become known for that product. And in turn, people will hire you. So keep that in mind. When you try to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. Focus on the genre and the artists that you're really passionate about. Now, on the topic of artists, this brings me to myth number 3. The belief that you have to work with big name or popular artists in order to be successful as an engineer or producer. Now, especially these days, in the modern day, this couldn't be further from the truth. The problem is people are stuck in the past and think the music industry is like it was 20 years ago. It's not. There are no more gatekeepers. Many artists are DIY these days. So instead of thinking of artists as huge or completely unknown, there's a middle ground that you could focus on. Now, I do this for a living full time, and I would say only 1/10 of the artists that I work with are on any form of legit record label. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Do you know how many bands are out there? I make it work by working on a very high volume of projects and having a team of engineers help me out with the projects. Remember, if you're thinking huge studio, multi-million-dollar budgets, it's kind of hard to come by these days. You have to get creative and you have to think outside the box in terms of your audio career. Because the truth is, there is more opportunity now than ever. Remember, these days you don't need any fancy equipment or any fancy room to record in. You just need to be personable and have a skill that's in demand. There are artists out there that just don't want to deal with any of the technical recording stuff and just want to focus on their playing. And that right there is your opportunity to step in and deliver the product that they're looking for. So even though it's not 1991 anymore and there's not multi-million-dollar record budgets being thrown around, there is still a ton of opportunity out there if you're creative and open-minded. So again, I've been doing this for a long time, almost 15 years now, and I've been hearing these myths perpetuated since I was in college. And I'd be lying if I told you that I didn't believe them myself at one point, but the truth is, they are not true. So remember, work on your skill set, don't let gear hold you back, and don't be caught up in this idea that you have to work with huge artists in order to be successful. It's not 1991 anymore. If you found this video helpful, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And don't forget to click the little bell icon in order to be notified every time I upload one of my weekly videos on all things metal and rock production. You can both like and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Links are in the description below. And be sure to download my 5-step guide for producing better heavy mixes with the gear you already have. There is a link below, right within this video's description. Till next time, happy recording.